Welcome to Odyssey and the platform. And one of our free events at the moment is about astrology. And Jill Loftus and myself will be I'll be looking at just some of the energy. I'll be in and out. And Jill will be telling us what to expect as we move along. We've already had a little bit of a conversation. And we're starting with the month of April, Jill. And already I was saying to you, I don't like the feel of this. Being a medium as such. So I'll hand it over to you. You can let us know what's going on with the planets and what to expect.
Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, thank you and welcome everyone. I'm gonna bring up my little spreadsheet here as we look at the second quarter of the month. So we're going to be looking at April, May, and June. And you can already sense into the feelings of April. Now, even normally, this is a time of a lot of fire energy, right? The energy of spring and renewal. But even just like a cosmic kind of a joke, Mercury stationed retrograde on April 1st. And so already we're experiencing some of the gear jamming that comes with a retrograde Mercury, which just tends to make there's some complications with communication. Even something as simple as you tell somebody, or you say to your child, maybe you should put up on a jacket, and they're like, you don't like my outfit? It's like, no, just told you to put on a jacket. Miscommunications like that, but also issues with electricity, electronics, things like that. But it's all in the sign of Aries. And we have the energies for this month, actually for the next several months, are just packed into three little parts of each person's chart. And the energy of Aries is very much the energy of starting, of initiation. So fire energy is here. Now, fire, like we all know, is a very powerful force, but applied inappropriately, it is a dangerous force, destructive force. And so we have to watch, because Mercury is the mind and how we communicate. We also have the sun here. We also are about to literally within a day or two have Venus here, which gives this desire nature. We also have Chiron, which means we're really processing a lot of pain, the pain of being independent, the pain of being in a relationship, the pain of childhood. All of these things are being processed. And this is just an enormous amount of energy in that area of life. So being change adept is always part of just the human experience, but it just feels a little bit more tenuous this month. And we also have the energy of shocking events happening this month. Why? Well, because we have the planet Jupiter, which makes things bigger and expansive. And in the positive sense, optimistic, and in the negative sense, gluttonous, coming in contact, a rather rare contact with Uranus. Now, it does touch the planet Uranus every 12 to 14 years, but in Taurus, it's kind of an unusual event, literally like every so many 100 years event. This introduces some destabilization literally to the planet. Shocking events, sudden events, weather-related, that could be related to water, that could be related to fire, it could be related to earthquakes. I would expect multiple incidents over the month related to those things. So if you're in an area where those things happen, have your backup plans, be sensible, stay grounded, do all the things that adults do, be prepared. There also could be really wild swings with currency, with money, with resources like food and things like that. So have your backup plans available with those as well. There could be moments of magical synchronicities. This is also a thing. You should really be paying attention to the symbols that you're getting this month, because magical things could happen as well, things that you thought maybe were impossible. There also will be dramatic changes with technology, and technology becoming even a bigger issue in our daily lives and how we live our lives. Taking initiative this month to work on yourself will be highly rewarded. This is a time where we have to kind of own our stuff. We have to step into this instead of asking everybody, not that you don't reach out to your healers and your helpers and your friends and things like that, but it's a time for the more responsibility you'll take for where you are, the easier it will be for you to get where you're going. All right. And lots of ideas and conversations, but more, make sure we are listening. With Aries energy, there can be this desire to tell and talk, and not the opposite, which is to truly be listening and to absorb and to understand and integrate. Relationships highlighted, right? Because those people are our mirror. We gaze into them, and that is how we see what we're vibing, right? You want to see what you're sending out into the universe, just look at the people that you've attracted. And if you don't like those folks, it's time for you to change you, not to you to change them. Change your vibration. You have to also find this balance between being independent and together. I'm not sure how much of you have ever seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the little animated special. And there's a part where the little elf says, let's be independent together. And that's a healthy relationship, being independent together. And so finding that balance, and if you are out of balance in your relationships, well, that will really come forward. If you're taking on all the effort in the relationships, you're going to see that this month. There also could be some really hard lessons this month due to Mars coming in contact with Saturn. We're also in the eclipse season. We had an eclipse on the 25th. We have another major eclipse coming up on the 8th of April. These are times that are destabilizing. These are events that can occur that maybe, there'll be a few that seem big on the surface, but there'll be quite a few that don't seem big on the surface, but are setting us up for big changes in the future. It's kind of like when you go out and you've got your garden and you're planting the seeds, right? And you're spreading them out, and you kind of have a vision maybe of what will come up. And then in a couple months, everything comes up and you're like, wow, I had no idea what just happened there. So you really have to tap in and make sure that, in particular, the seeds that you're nourishing in your life are the things that you want, the things that you really need. And the consequences of things can sometimes feel like, it kind of feels like there's a certain amount of uncertainty. That's because there's a lot of Pisces energy, and the Pisces energy is, there's not always clarity, but the Pisces energy also deeply relates to spirit and spirituality. And so tapping in to your angels, your guides, it's always important, but this month it's vital. It's so vital that you do that. And then I would really watch, particularly at the end of the month, confusion and what I'm calling like mass psychosis. There's so much energy in Pisces that it's like an undercurrent. And then there's the Aries energy, which is, I want to take action. And when people who are operating from fear-based reactions or uncertainty, and they just start lashing out at the person that's closest to them or the thing that's closest to them, or they all gather together and say, you know whose fault it is? It's so-and-so's fault. And they go running towards that. I mean, throughout history, people have unfortunately done this. This group dynamic can be quite dangerous. I remember giving the advice to my son. You may have heard me say this before. I say it quite often. I always say, son, anytime you're in a group of young men, always remember it's the young man with the lowest IQ who leads you all. There can be this group energy of someone who's so certain of something and charging in a certain direction. And a lot of people, because they're afraid or uncertain or feeling unstable, are like, yeah, I guess we all have to go do this. Take a step back from those situations. Be cautious and wise in those situations, because there could be confusion. There could be uncertainty. You might not have all the information.
It's interesting, Jill, that what you're saying, because as you're talking, I'm listening to them and the messages they were saying. They were saying also about the manifestations. I know you brought up the key dates and stuff to look at, but also with, we're talking about that spiritual side of ourselves, it's be mindful about your manifestations at the moment, because they're saying there's going to be a lot of mood swings, or the mind's going to be changing. So we're talking about, how really look at where you're at and stuff. And this is also with relationships, and this is like with friendships and stuff. So it's about really managing your own energy at this time. So April is going to be really about managing your own energy, looking at like not jumping out and making rash decisions. That's what I heard. And I think that's, you were saying about the Aries and stuff. Again, I'm not astrologer, but medium. But the energy is, it's like to find your balance, your inner balance. So really look at where this is coming from, instead of like really jumping out. It's really to go into the heart center, the gut, and to really ask before you jump. And a bit like what you were saying about the crowd mentality, they was also saying to me that there will be I can see groups of I don't like to say this, but group of fighting or violence. There'll be something like that where, because it like destructuralization is sort of saying, so pulling something apart. So politically as well, it's like name calling. There'll be that going on. They're talking about that as well. So energetically like that. And again, I go back to the earthquakes, the flooding. That's going to put, it's like the whole earth is feeling the vibration of individuals. So the energy of us individually, our electromagnetic field, is going to also affect the energy that's on the earth as well. So that's going to tap into it and to feed into it. So again, they just said to me, thank you, don't forget about the manifesting, go back. So be mindful of what you're manifesting, because whatever you think that you want right now, it's going to happen quite quick. But your mind, actually, you might get it and go, oh, I don't know if I really want that, and I've called it in. So it's about looking at what you really, really do want. So it's really about, I was saying this to you a little bit earlier, going to your higher self and looking at what is it you do need, whatever it is, and looking at that. Again, they just said, I wrote a little bit of notes here, don't jump in, think about things. And yeah, thank you. They also said about romantic healing, so karmic relationships. So in April, endings, and there'll be beginnings later on, but it's about anything that's no longer serving you as an individual that will come up in relationships a lot the most. So karmic healing, there's those relationship lessons, also coming back from past lives, they said. So any relationships you had in past lives, they're going to be seen in April, where a lot of endings or looking at reassessing where you are. Okay, thank you. I just had to jump in because they sort of prompts me. So yeah, thank you, Jill. And the keynote's amazing. Let's see what goes on next.
Yeah. So yeah, just for April, feel free to, take a screenshot of this. We've already got the retrograde Mercury. So you're going to have to reconsider, rethink some things, especially if you know where Aries is in your chart. We've got that powerful new moon on April the 8th. It particularly impacts North America, particularly the United States, very strongly because it traverses across the country. It's a new moon, but I really don't recommend big initiations for eclipses because the energy is too erratic. Okay, it's a time to stay steady, and not just that day, but the days before and after, and understand that it will ripple out literally. Solar eclipses are impact us for a year for every minute, and this one's like a minute and 30 seconds, or 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so almost 4 years of impact. So look symbolically at what happens, right? The universe is always interacting with us. Caution flag up on April the 10th, Mars comes together with Saturn. So I always think of Mars as a young man on a horse, right? He's doing his thing. He's probably swimming because it's in Pisces, right? And then he runs into the old man who says, what about the rules? What about the time? So there could be a clash there. So be a little careful. And then April 13th, the sun is going to touch Eris. Eris is a dwarf planet. Astronomers would consider her similar to Pluto, but she's the sister of Mars, and she's the goddess of strife and discord. She is active and retrograding and moving with the sun and Mercury this month. So again, discord. Especially, I think the divine feminine is really looking to kind of break free this month in some ways, and that will continue throughout the year. Sun will move into Taurus on the 19th, and we'll all of us nice little Taurans will be like happy to be out in the field eating some grass, right? Hopefully we'll begin to start slow the energy down. And then this really unique meeting between Jupiter and Uranus, they come together officially on the 20th, but you will feel it from the middle of the month through the end of the month. Synchronicities, sudden shocking events, and again, the weather. The full moon is on the 23rd of the month. It is at 4 degrees of Scorpio. It clashes with Pluto, so it's a lot of intensity. Quick question here. Explain more about what is important to focus on during eclipse. Yes, I can do that. No problem. And then I'm also watching that Mars-Neptune meeting on April 28th. That's the one I'm telling you. It's like the Mars is that energy to do something, and the Neptune is, but who knows what direction we're going in. Could be good for spiritual practices, but not good for practicality. Venus will slip into Taurus on the 29th, again, starting to cool down the energy a little bit, but then Mars moves into the Aries on the 30th, and Mars will set off some triggers as well. So again, volatile month. Yeah, as far as eclipses, what I like to think of in an eclipse, I like to look at the area of life that it's in. If it's a solar eclipse, I think about what initiations, what's beginning in this area of life that I almost need to like step back and just be observant of. And then when it comes to the lunar eclipses, it's more like something is trying to be removed from my life. How can I do that gracefully? How can I let go gracefully? How can I take 2 giant steps back, even though I might be sad it's leaving, or I might have thought that was important. I got to trust this process. So that's the way I would look at it. And I just would be careful of group energy during those times, because again, the people sense the volatility and they start looking around for someone they can react with. So you don't want to be reactionable or the bringer of anyone's karma, as one of my teachers used to say.